Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Solo Spotlight. I'm your host, Ryan McDougall, and today's guest, Mark Hillman, a PACE candidate for Ward Papastew for the upcoming Edmonton municipal elections, October 20th. You know the drill with all of the political candidates: rent, taxes, safety on your commute, construction headaches, parking, and everything else in between. We're going to keep it human and practical. What changes, where, and how soon? Welcome, my guest, Mark Hillman. Welcome, everybody. Solo Spotlight, another episode here. I'm with Mark Hillman, Ward Papastew, under PACE candidacy. Mark, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've been getting into politics recently after I had a few people on. I kind of said like, oh, this is like a nice little niche that I can tap into, and it's always a lot of mutual benefit that you can kind of get on and show a little bit more of yourself to the public. Coming up to election day, I'm sure all publicity is good in this sense going into it. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. You have started to become more active on social media. That's kind of how I initially was aware of you. And I can't wait to talk about your story, kind of your financial and planning background, as well as what kind of things that City Hall could be doing this upcoming year with the introduction of parties in City Hall.
Absolutely.
And yeah. But before we get started, what would you say outside of politics is something that keeps you grounded? Any hobbies, anything that you do that is not related?
I learned early in life that it's always super important to have something to relieve stress. And I have a few ways of doing that. It's actually really funny. I have a few methods. I like to read. I'm an avid reader. I paint. I actually paint like
Okay.
miniature models.
Right.
It's incredibly nerdy.
Oh, like Warhammer.
Yeah. I
Warhammer.
paint those.
Yeah.
I take those to painting competitions. I have a whole cabinet of them and everything.
Yeah, those are. I had a friend that did that, and he had like the magnifying. He had to find the different shades to like how dirt would look like on the boots and stuff like that. And it's crazy, and
it's very detailed. That's my stress reliever. I've been doing that for years. I've actually since I was 15.
Yeah,
I've been painting those, and what I do to help keep me grounded is some people find it stressful because there's a lot of detail and everything. But what I do is I have the first painted models I ever painted. They look terrible.
Right.
Absolutely terrible. And they are above my shelf painting desk, and they're there all the time. They do not move. And every time I'm painting something, I look at where I came from into where I am now. So I kind of see the progress, and that's one thing that helps
give you like a visual cue.
Yeah, it gives me a visual cue there.
That's good, and that's probably very healthy, a way to do it in terms of you have an idea of what you're looking at and where you're coming in. It's just like this incremental factor. So going into that, where did the politics start? So you went to school in Utah?
Idaho. I went to the Idaho campus.
Idaho.
Yeah.
Okay. So coming from Idaho, where does your political journey start?
Yeah. So my political journey kind of, I never really expected to be super political, to be honest. I went to school down in Idaho because I could get a full business, not full ride, but I was able to get a good discount.
Scholarship?
Yeah. So, I was able to get good scholarships, discounts, and I figured out a way to get down there without really, you always want to get out of your parents' basement.
Yeah, of course.
My first year university was actually at McMaster University in Ontario, because that's where my parents were living at the time.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, cool, I can go here. And then I figured out how to go and kind of do my own thing. And really the first time I really started thinking of politics too hard was, people are probably going to be was 2016. That was a big buzz down in the States. and everyone wanted to know what the Canadian thought.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, this is dangerous.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, I had to learn some tricks on how to sound as politically neutral as possible because I didn't want to get involved in that too much. But that was my first real exposure to like everyone asking me what my political opinion was. But really kind of the thing that got me into politics was or really wanted me to do this journey from where I came from in finance was this old phrase that kind of stuck with me. Well, there's a lot of little things. Like it wasn't one big thing, but the first thing that really stuck out to me was my grandfather had a saying that he would always say about politics. If you don't vote, don't complain. And I really do feel that right now in this election, we have quite a bit to complain about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where it started for me.
So you make your way to Edmonton. What brought you to Edmonton?
Yeah, so I was born in Ontario, but I was raised out here. My family moved out here when I was quite young, and we for my dad's job, and I was raised out here. Most of my memories are out here, and when my parents moved back to Ontario for work many years later, I kind of followed them around to go to school, and then I kind of went and did my own thing. Came back from school. And then I got married, did the bit. And my wife and I, we kind of had a thought to ourselves several years ago, or many years ago now. And we're like, where's home? She's from Saskatchewan, so easier.
Yeah.
Getting out there to the family farm in Saskatchewan. And I always kind of saw Alberta and Edmonton as a whole as home for me.
Right.
So that's kind of what brought us back here.
Okay. Interesting. So when you get into like finance and financial planning, was it kind of like rooted here? Is this where you kind of like got your first like break
legs.
out of university?
No, not at all. Actually, the my financial experience. I went to university. My if you look at my degree, it's actually in logistics, supply chain.
Okay.
I actually minored in finance, so it wasn't. I actually thought to myself, coming out of university, the finance guys, those are brave souls.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want anything to do with that. But I kept getting told to universities, like my professors kept telling me, well, you got to kind of have a knack for this. Yeah, I really don't want to be an accountant.
Right.
So I graduated from university, and then I kind of did the thing most university students do. Take whatever job you can to pay off your debt.
Right.
Right. So I'm not going to say I had my financial career right out the hop.
No.
It wasn't until about a year or 2 years after I graduated university that I kind of got my first break, if you will. And it was with software implementation. So I was installing a software, and the original point of it was logistics for manufacturing companies. And I was in that for about a year. And then I think we all kind of know what happens with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
COVID hit and kind of upended a lot of things. So I kind of took a look at my background, my career, what I can do. And I'm like, I kind of know finance, or I think I know it pretty well. And I have a background in software implementation. So there's a software I had an opportunity to get trained on and certified with that was relatively new in North America at the time. And so I kind of went ahead, took the initiative and got that certified in that software myself. The beauty was that you could work online remotely. That was kind of the bit, because it's pretty valuable back in COVID times.
Yeah.
And that kind of spurred me into going that direction. And as I was going through this career, I kept growing in it and it kept getting better. And first things I did is, I practiced what I preach. No debt, paid it all off, lived well within my means sort of thing. And my wife and I kind of are very strict on that. We still live on the same expenses that we lived when we first got married. We still have the same budget.
Wow.
And we balance everything. After we paid off our debt, we told ourselves that we're not increasing our standard of living. But I was very blessed in the sense that as I was working hard and getting good at this, quite frankly, I was becoming certified in more and more modules, more and more different aspects and different softwares, consulting higher and higher levels. Yeah, higher clouds, different groups. I was able to kind of dictate what I wanted to do a little bit.
Yeah.
So there's been cases where I've been able to say, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. A lot more leverage.
Oh yeah. And it is a blessing. It's been great for me. But this whole time stick with the practice what I preach thing. I try and keep my standard of living
Mm-hmm.
relatively where
So is this
we are.
where like the idea of leadership came in? So like when did
Kinda.
the idea of like leadership or like being a voice for someone, was this kind of where it was bred, or was this like
Yeah.
was this a skill that you kind of had before? Like some people, they're very like outspoken when they were young and they kind of know that this was something that they knew they were going to get into. It was just a timing thing. Was this something you grew into or the latter?
It wasn't something I ever really thought I'd get into initially. It was something that kind of grew into me. Throughout my life, there's been multiple chances I've had to be in leadership positions and help people. And throughout my career, I've noticed, and just companies and contracts I've had to work with, I've noticed examples of bad leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So I've experienced what the result of bad leadership. Like oftentimes, frankly, one of the reasons company will call me nowadays is because they got themselves in a bad spot.
Cleanup crew.
A little bit.
Yeah.
There are definitely cases where I've come in and been a little bit of a cleanup crew. I take one look at their budget and I'm like, okay, let's not finger point here, but let's get this fixed.
Yeah.
That's been
Yeah. Someone screwed this up.
someone messed this up. I remember vividly in one experience I had where and I'm not going to name the company,
Of course.
but I was installing their software, and one day the CFO comes to me, and Tuesday morning, and I remember it very well. He's like, "So Mark, we're missing $8 million. Do you think you can find it for us?" And I'm like, "Okay, I have a few questions. How do you misplace $8 million?
Yeah.
And the next thing I know is like, in my process of looking for this, I'm like, "You guys have been misplaced. You didn't notice this or soon?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was a little baffled. And the next thing he wanted me to do is figure out if there was someone who took it. Turns out it was a rounding error. And if that gives you context of
Wow.
these guys, it was a legitimate rounding error. And I was able to track down who did it, or who made that mistake. And I saw the name, and I'm like, it's not worth making a big stink about pointing fingers. Who did this? I'll just confront them personally, say, "Hey, don't do this again, please."
Yeah.
And then we'll go on our way and let's fix it. Let's just get it
Yeah.
fixed. So, and all was good in the world. They got their $8 million. They were happy.
Fantastic. So using this experience, where was your moment that you kind of knew that this would benefit City Hall?
Yeah. So, it really just in the experience of how City Hall interacts, or City Council interacts with the administration. If you have an understanding of how that works, administration kind of gives reports and recommendations to City Council, and City Council acts as a board of directors and makes decisions. Or the board of directors makes executive decisions and then tasks the administration to fulfill those tasks. My whole career has been effectively that, on the administrative side, giving reports from a financial perspective to a board of directors, which is, in this case, the City of Edmonton, the City Council. But in context of what I've been doing, a board of directors for a company. So I'd give this financial report to them, say, hey, this is how you can understand it. Because if we're being honest, take a multi-billion-dollar company. And I'm not going to toot my horn saying that I've worked with many multi-billion-dollar companies. A few, but not a lot. But if you take a multi-billion-dollar company, there's so many aspects. And a board of directors has to make a decision based on finite information. So what information they are given is critical. Unfortunately, oftentimes, what a company will do, and I think we do see this a little bit with I hazard to say it quite a lot, with our city administration, they'll kind of flood the field a bit. They'll give a lot of information, and it's a lot of information that City Council, blame them or don't blame them for this one, doesn't know how to interpret properly.
It's like not plain English.
Right. No, it's absolutely not. Like an easy example of that would be last year there was a report called the Fiscal Gap Report that was released. It is a general summarization. I use the word summarization very lightly of all the fiscal gap between the city's spending and what we would bring in. Fiscal Gap Report. The report was 159 pages, and that's the summary.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's like, where do you even start?
Where do you even start, right? And there are counselors who admitted that they haven't even read the darn thing. So,
And the thing is, how do you filter that? How do you put that through a cheesecloth and decide what's pertinent to
right.
what you're trying to argue for, what's pertinent not, and how am I angling this? Could take, and then you have everything else.
Right. And my background is coming from a background of someone who create reports like that. So I'm able to see that very easily.
Right.
What's the important bits here? How do I, because really, I have the time. I've read that report 5 times cover to cover, but like, for the example, the first time I'm reading it, I'm going through, it's like, okay, what are the important things that are going to impact my decision making? Right. So it's being able to see that from a financial standpoint, because really the old saying of follow the numbers or follow the money, that's kind of where I'm coming from.
So leaning into that, you realize like the skills that you have work. So what is the pipeline of actually getting into politics? Is it like getting is it a like petition based? Like, how does that work in terms of actually being a name on the ballot?
Yeah. So I'll kind of. So are you asking more of the technical of how that pipeline works, or how it works for me?
Yeah, like how would you say, how would you go from, okay, I have this idea, I want to do it. Who do you talk to next?
Well, in terms of city council, it's actually relatively easy. You really only need 25 signatures, and you need like $100, and you're signed up. Now your name's on the ballot.
Right.
That's the barrier to entry. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's the barrier to entry. And I think the barrier to entry being very low is a good thing. I think people should be able to get into it. Now, for me, how it worked out for me was kind of going back to that old saying, don't vote, don't complain. And I think there's a lot to complain about. So what I did is I wanted to really get involved. I wanted to say, hey, what can I do to solve this problem or help with this issue? So I actually went to PACE, the party I'm with now, and I said, hey, I'm willing to volunteer. This is my skill set. I'm really to analyze reports for you, help you with your friend. I'm willing to do things. I'm be a campaign manager for somebody, and let me help. And they kind of took that, and a few times they asked me, he's like, so would you consider running? I'm like, okay, like just in the thought kind of came into my mind a few times, but I remember telling Sheila, and I had, she's the head of our board of directors right now. And I told her point blank, if you please find someone better. If you can find someone better than me, if you can't, I'll do it.
Right.
I want to do it. I'm here because I want to be here. But at the same time, I would much rather if you found someone better than me.
Right.
Not saying that I don't think I'm qualified, but it's a little self-deprecation. Never hurt anybody.
Well, yeah, and a lot of times when you even talk to anybody, there's a level of like imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Where you say to yourself, "Oh, am I like?" You have self-doubt. You have all of these different things where it's like, me?
Yeah.
And then you kind of
have
these you feel like you're taking on these narcissistic traits to be like, yeah, I'm going to do it. Yeah. I'm the best. But again, I think once you start to see because I'm sure there was a level of soft skills that you had to learn that started swaying you into this like mindset of like, no, I know I'm the right candidate. I know that I'm able to do it. So like going from, and again, initial reactions are one thing. And then once you sit on it a bit and you're able to like formulate your thoughts and put everything together, it starts to make a lot more sense. So this is like, that's like the inception.
Yeah, that's the inception for me.
So let's talk about the soft skills. What are some soft skills that you found early on that were some things that you not even didn't know how to do, but knew that they were like a big fundamental factor?
Yeah, things I knew were big fundamental factors, just being able to communicate to people, right? I come from an industry that is a unique part of what I do is I have to have the ability to communicate ideas and communicate numbers to people in a way that's understandable, but I also have to have the technical knowledge to back it up. Those two things you would think are pretty commonplace together, but experience they're not. There's a distinct difference between the person who has the hard knowledge of how to do something, and those people typically don't have the soft skills.
Right.
So that's something I've kind of had to develop. Like an easy example. In my career, if you take numbers, here's a fun fact that most people don't know. The human brain is not actually wired to count. I know that sounds weird, but try to conceptualize a number bigger than 10,000.
Yeah.
Your brain will struggle.
Right.
As soon as you get above that number, the peak of human intelligence is around 10,000 for actually conceptualization.
Okay.
So, however...
So, like, putting that into perspective of, like, what does 10,000 people look like?
Correct. So, imagine 10,000 people.
Right.
And I'm guessing everyone in the audience is probably trying to do that right now.
Right.
It's incredibly difficult. And you go, oh my goodness, what the heck? I can't do it. And if you can, you are one of the very few people in the world, and you are certifiably probably a genius.
Right.
However, the human brain is designed to compare. So that's one thing that I've done in my career is I take people's like, okay, take the numbers. Let's look at it because they're important. And I always try to provide context. If I throw a number at you of, we are $1.5 billion over budget.
Yeah. It's like, what does that even mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Right now,
it's like how many, like, what are we talking about? Is that the value of like the downtown core? Is that the, right?
You have no idea, do you?
Yeah.
No one does.
Right.
Now, if I throw it at you and say our capital expenditure budget is $10.8 billion. 10.8.
Then I would say that's what we're spending.
$10.8 billion. Yep, that's actually the budget for 3 years, from 2023 to 2026.
Okay.
$10.8 billion. We're halfway through the budget.
Okay.
And we're already $1.5 billion over.
Right.
Now you have a concept.
Right.
Now
so
it
then
makes
it's
more
like
sense.
we still have 6 months and we're broke.
Pretty much.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's now you have more context.
Yeah, now we're in overdraft.
Bingo. So
right.
so that's kind of my job has been, and I like to think I'm quite talented. I've actually had people come in. There are people who do what I do who have 20 plus years of experience. I've actually worked with one person, and she is a certifiable genius. And she's asked me a few times to come in and say, "Hey, Mark, can you explain this to someone?"
Right.
And I'm like, "Yeah, I got you."
And just proper English.
Proper English.
And it's interesting, especially when you talk about technology, because like some things, there's not really like a vocabulary that has been developed to actually, like, even when I talk to people about like editing and stuff, and you talk about like, oh, different cameras and different frame rates and like download speeds, and like, well, you could have a camera that has a really good quality, but do you have the memory card that has like an upload like pace that it can upload onto the thing? And then it's like explaining that, you're just like, never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I think a fundamental part of politics, or just anything in general, is being able to bring it down to, I don't want to say the term dumb it down, because that's not a fair term, but bring it down to a level of the understanding that someone can understand it, right? Think doctors.
Right.
Easiest example anyone can relate to. They throw all those mumbo jumbo words at you that, quite frankly, I think half of them are made up.
Right.
20
syllable letters.
20 syllable letters that are just massive words that are go on forever, and you have no idea what they're talking about. But then when they explain to you, oh, this is a disease that does this.
Right.
Boom, I get it now. So that's not because the person who the doctor explaining to is dumb. That's what their understanding, their concept is.
Right.
So that's been that has been the main focal point of my career.
When you go into this and you're like explaining to people, and it's probably like you have a unique kind of challenge when it comes to like your ward, because you have a lot of people in their like younger generation. So you think that's ultimately a benefit for you like people, it's easier for people to like grasp certain concepts and stuff. But on the other side, do you think that having a population that young, there's not a lot of like lived in experience where they haven't owned a lot of properties? They might necessarily, like, because they're renters, they don't know what you're talking about with like land tax and this and that. So like, how do you actually like bridge that gap?
Right. So it's all about it depends what issue that if I'm at the door, it depends what issue that person's debating, looking for, or what they're concerned about. But bridging the gap between, like, because I do have a lot of homeowners in the south side of my ward and a lot of renters in the north side. And I explain to people a lot of these issues are interconnected. A lot of these things that you were going through, let's take the increasing property taxes.
5.7%.
Yeah. So that's the recent one this year. Last year it was 8.6.
Right.
And the year before was somewhere in the realm of that.
Right.
Top of my head, I think it was 6 something as well. But it's quite expensive. So property tax has been increasing. Now, and I can kind of give people a context of the why. But people really care about what the end outcome for them is. For the homeowner, it's obvious. Higher property taxes.
Right.
In the context of the renter, Alberta is one of the only provinces that does not have a rent controls. Right. So I think we can all see it where rent has gone up.
Yeah, your rent like double. This last year, my rent went up. In 1 year, they tried to raise my rent $400.
Yeah. I have spoken to people who are renters who, because there are no rent controls, their old landlord died, new landlord buys the place. Double.
Right.
He tried to double their rent.
Yeah.
And he was successful. And they have to move now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and promise rent controls. In the context of Alberta, rent control, the lack of rent controls made sense to an extent until now.
Yeah.
I think there's a valid conversation that needs to be had there. Absolutely. Right. That's a provincial thing. And I'm definitely happy to talk about the city's relationship with the province later in the conversation. But really, it's easy for me to say to people, it's like, okay, you're a renter. Your rent's going up. Last year, 17% on average.
Right.
This year, it's looking closer to 25% on average. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Like, I'm 33 years old. I remember what it was like to rent.
Yeah.
Like, the first few years my wife and I were married, we rented in Ontario.
Yeah, which was probably even worse.
Earlier when I was saying that I was able to keep my standard of living, well, my right now my mortgage is less than what I was paying in rent out there. And that's one thing I want to maintain here. I want people to feel affordability. So if you're the homeowner, if you're the renter, it doesn't matter. You still care about affordability.
Right.
You still care about the fact that Edmonton is still the most, for now, considered the most affordable large city in the country. That's something we want to maintain.
Right.
Like, so it's bridging the commonality there.
And do you find like going and doing door knocking, like, is there, like your ward specifically, like, is there, like, what's the biggest like day-to-day struggle that you find that people are having?
Yeah. So the biggest day-to-day struggles that I'm experiencing at the doors, in this order, is infill. Infill is like, in our ward in particular, we are experiencing infill more than any other ward in the city. It is an issue citywide. I definitely want to get into that, but in our ward, we're getting it more than anyone else.
So when we talk about infill, just a little context for the viewers.
Sure.
You're talking about building new properties in like established neighborhoods.
Yes. So let me get new context. I'm not against infill conceptually. Not against it. An old house needs to be torn down, build a new one. Cool. Old house needs to be torn down. You want to build a duplex? Okay, cool. The issue we have with infill, and I know we're kind of segueing again a bit, is the bylaw. Bylaw 20001. That bylaw has caused so many problems for the city, and it is probably one of the fundamental things we need to address.
And that was limiting requirements. That was making it easier to get approval.
So the idea and where it came from was a combination of the city's goals and the federal government.
Because they wanted 50%.
Yeah.
Right? That's their goal, 50% infill, so they don't have urban sprawl.
Right. And I'm more than happy to touch on urban versus suburban sprawl here, or urban densification versus sprawl. Like that debate, I'm more than happy to go into. But conceptually, the idea, you're right, if they just want to densify what we currently have in an effort to get more homes for people.
Well, and
No
and on
concept.
top of that, use like existing infrastructure.
Yes.
So, well, we already have everything built in. We have transit, we have plumbing, we have all this stuff.
So
So
on
why would
paper,
we build into it? Why would we
right,
build out and have all these expenses?
right. On paper, great idea. I'm not against.
Right.
And removing red tape, I'm there too.
Yeah.
I'm right there. But business background, come on.
Right.
The problem you had, and I actually spoke with the person who helped architect this bill or this bylaw. Fundamental pieces were left out. Fundamental. Like there's you can name a million and one of the issues that this bylaw has caused, but you have eightplexes going into more mature neighborhoods, in which people obviously will not like. But you have parking concerns, you have infrastructure concerns, like constraints, all these issues that come with it. But fundamentally, two things that were left out with it. Districting was left out completely. This bylaw is citywide. One size fits all, the whole city. There is no individual districts. We're not taking into account individual needs of neighborhoods. That's out. That's gone. A fundamental recommendation when this thing was posed was that has to be in there because some neighborhoods are very different. Very different. And that's not me trying to say...
And different how?
Right. An easy example I can give. Easy one I can give. A neighborhood of Belgravia.
Okay.
If you've ever been there, it's near the university. So it's near university. It's there's an LRT line there. So it meets all the criteria to build eightplexes. So easy check mark, done by this bylaw. Problem, there's two ways in and out of Belgravia. It's already one of the most traffic congested neighborhoods in the whole city. There was I spoke to an anesthesiologist who's on call in that neighborhood, and took him 22 minutes to get out.
Yeah, of
When
just
he's on
that
call.
neighborhood.
Just that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Just the neighborhood. It's easier for him to walk. There was a case last year, fire truck, 15 minutes to get in an emergency.
Yeah.
Why does someone have to have a heart attack and an ambulance not be able to get there on time before we think this is a problem?
Right.
So we just saw the high level, like, oh, okay, if one size fits all, university's there, it's on an LT line, it makes sense. Cool. We didn't take the time, the city didn't take the time to actually zone properly. That's number one fundamental issue with it.
So it's like choosing things like Edmonton Commons or Blanchford.
Yeah.
Like areas like that have like a lot of, because right now, like that article that I just read on the Edmonton Sun, like by this time, they should have had like 2,000 residents in Blanchford, and they're only at about 200.
Yeah, and I want to get on that, but quickly, if you mind, the second issue I have with the infill bylaw, I'll finish off my thought before I move on to that, and I will address that.
Yeah.
The second issue with the bylaw is it removed any requirement for community collaboration, so neighbors have no say whatsoever.
And then a big building is towering over them.
Correct.
No backyard. The trees are getting removed.
I'm sure you've seen circulating the internet in Crestwood. That's outside my ward. Sure, I understand that, but it's an easy example of circulating the internet. And in my ward, I can show you pictures of almost identical examples. But that one's hitting the internet pretty hard right now. Of single family home surrounded by two eightplex, like right beside two eightplexes. No sun, no nothing, and that guy had no say at all. And I get it. People can do what they want on the property, but at the same time, it used to be that if you wanted to demolish something and you want to build something new, before the demo happened, you had to consult the neighborhood.
Right.
You had to go to the community league. You had to get buy-in from like the neighbors. That's gone. That's completely gone. So throughout my neighborhood, throughout my ward, you've been seeing like Edmonton Neighborhood United signs everywhere. And it is direct protest to that, really. It's the community's way of trying to respond when they don't really have a voice. So
now where do you think this stems from, of like people like having this lack of regard for, like, is it because there's a lot of like builders, like a lot of like development companies that come in, and it's like, I'm so far removed from like the boots on the ground dude, where it's like, I don't gotta field these complaints. Like,
well, it's kind of ironic. I've spoken to a lot of developers and builders. The guys who are building these eightplexes are not your typical monopoly man, monocle wearing guys. They are they're the dudes who, to an extent, yeah, they're just so dissociated with it. They are kind of mid-level builders who are coming in, and they don't live in those neighborhoods. They'll get them built. They don't care. They'll take the money and run. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to get my butt
course.
sued on this from this
Yeah.
podcast. But there is a developer in, again, Belgravia, that is that's owned by the developer themselves is owned by a foreign country, so they are shell company. But because the company itself is technically Canadian, they are able to qualify for very aggressive loans from the CMHC.
Right.
So, and that's where a lot of this is coming from. It's developers who previously wouldn't have had the opportunity to do this, and an argument can be made that they should have a means of doing this where appropriate. But they're given a blanket field to work in, and they're given incredibly aggressive loans from the federal government.
Right.
And the minimum requirement for the federal government is that the loan, you have to build at least 5 units on that lot. Minimum.
Oh, wow.
And most people don't know that. It's actually funny. One of my opponents has made things like, we need to go to 4 units. I don't think he knows that if you do that, you are no longer getting money from the federal government.
Yeah, you don't qualify.
Right. So I think some of my opponents are very, and I don't want to, I'm not naming names because I don't want to.
Of course.
I promise I'm not going to take attacks on my opponents on this, this cost, but I think that's just an easy example if they just don't know or do their homework.
Right.
So
that's interesting. So like, how would you bridge that gap with the federal government of like trying to adjust that? Is that at provincial level? What conversations would need to be had?
So what the example is, the loan from the CHMC or CMHC is they give a list of criteria that they have to meet, and we have to meet so many of those criteria to qualify for our version of the loans. There's some back and forth there, but really what it comes down to is they give a broad policy, and we have to work kind of within that broad policy and refine it a bit. Our job has been to zone, to district this zoning plan.
Right. So then if you want to build a 5-plex somewhere else that's not destroying a neighborhood, and like causing huge amounts of traffic congestion, it's like, by all means, like, we have the infrastructure built there to be able to handle that. So go for it.
Exactly. And infrastructure is another concern I thought about, or I've been thinking a lot about, like thinking 8-plex. Like the city has been built. Yes, this lot was built for single family homes. Yes, if we're building urbanizing, and kind of going to that argument, going back to your previously about like Blanchford and expanding urbanization for sprawl.
Right.
We got to be careful with just picking one or the other, because if we just do urbanization, here's an easy example. If we're just densifying a previously single family home and put an 8-plex there, that's 8 new units. And yeah, I know they'll use just as much electricity and water drainage as the previous single family home. That's very false.
Yeah.
That's 8 more showers, which that is 8 more washing machines. That's 8 more dryers. Very electricity and hydro intensive things that put a lot of strain on the grid. Like,
and also like talking about the zoning, there also needs to be a consideration too for like where people are getting approval for, and like how far away. Because when you look at like the Blanchford area, you look where they're approving houses, and they're like over a kilometer away from any transit.
Yeah.
So how do you expect people that are renting? So you can assume that whatever condition they are that they're renting, they may or may not have like independent transport. So now you're expecting them to walk over a 20-minute walk in February and January minus 30 degrees.
I think with all things, it's kind of a balancing act, right? Because what we're doing now is we're swung the pendulum so far to the urbanization side that we're seeing all the problems of that. I do believe we do need to urbanize. We do need to densify. I'm not against it. And I think some of my opponents will try to paint me as the anti-infill guy, and I'm not really. But when it comes to sprawl, I think we need to balance it. We need to take a balanced approach, because when we annexed the land south of Edmonton, like Blanchford area in 2009, annexing land for a city is, I'm not sure if you know how intensive the process is. We had to spend years demonstrating that there was a need for it, an imminent need.
So one of the arguments is, why wouldn't you just sell that to like a private contractor, get it built?
Well, and because we've been preventing it.
Right.
The city has not allowed it.
Right.
I've actually spoke with many private contractors. Like there's like Build Edmonton, for example. I've met with them, and their mantra is to build better, build for this whole city. And I spoke with them, and they're biting at the teeth to get their members in there. Like developers want to be there.
They just can't get approval.
Right, because we have this kind of an unofficial policy, the policy of containment within the city. Right, we want to contain all development within the Henday, within the Henday boundaries. And I understand where the thought comes from, but it's grounded in kind of some false ideology.
Well, and is it like a fixation too of like
Yes.
now that you've set your like sights on that, it's like, well, now we have to do.
Yeah, they're fixated on that. Like there are definite problems with just sprawling outwards.
Right.
I'm not denying, like as you were alluding to, like where do they get transit? Like they build the infrastructure up. Infrastructure costs, a lot of those are shared with developers. I think when we're making a new neighborhood, I don't think people realize that it's actually a developer who wants to go in there who bears a lot of those costs for we contract how long it's going to be, but it's measured in decades usually, like 20, 30 years, and then the city picks up the costs. Transit, that is something the city does have to consider. And when we are sprawling out, we have to be really conscious about that, making sure that people who, if we're building a neighborhood that is in Blanchford, for example, that is going to, we believe the demographic is going to be mostly renters who don't drive, we have to consider that. We have to plan for that. And that just comes back to good long-term planning, which I think this council has proven they're not capable of.
Right.
And it's been much easier for them to one-size-fits-all zoning, everything stays in the Henday, just build up with what you got. That way they don't have to deal with trying to figure out transit to new neighborhoods. They don't have to deal with zoning in different areas. Administratively, it's super easy for them.
And they still make money.
Oh, yeah. They're still in charge.
So when you talk about like holding people accountable, that kind of gets in to, because there's two things that I think that would be good to touch on here is like, again, how infill in the right way and zoning it properly, because like you have transit, but that's given the idea that it's safe transit.
Yes.
Right. And the other thing, and I'll leave that is to talk about pace, but I think going into transit next is a big important factor of like, where does that lie into the like factor of how things are getting developed? And is that something that needs to be tackled first before something like putting development in these areas? Because yeah, that's great that you say that there's transit there, but are people riding it? Are people safe riding it?
Yep.
And what needs to be changed in order to make it like the quality has gone up in terms of they're always building new LRT stations, this and that, but the rider security or the rider experience is still kind of very muddy in the water of what the interpretation is. And even just the word of mouth of people like just don't ride transit because people tell you it's dangerous. So how do we change as a city, how do we change that rider perception to make it actually like a viable like transport system within our city?
And there's two parts to that. There is the perception, and there is the actual safety concerns, right? And they're connected, right? They are definitely connected. And I feel they're addressed in very similar ways. Right now, the LRT, everyone doesn't feel safe on it. There was a recent study that over 70% of people do not feel safe going on the LRT after dark. Just full stop, and won't do it.
Right.
I've spoken to people who are mothers who've bought their kids cars. The kids are happy with that because they don't want their kids taking the LRT. That's insane to me.
Yeah.
Our LRT system is one of the oldest and most well-developed in all North America. Like in Canada, we have probably one of the best LRT systems in the country.
Is this one that you see is this a big concern that you see in your ward specifically because of like the amount of university students?
Absolutely. It's absolutely a huge concern. I feel that everybody should feel safe on the LRT. I have one of my best friends. He is 6'5". He's a big guy. And I asked him, like, okay, because anecdotally, I always kind of ask, like, do you feel safe on the LRT? And he just kind of chuckled and was like, yeah, I feel safe on the LRT. Okay, fair point. I probably asked the wrong guy.
Yeah, because you're giant.
He's a 6'5" guy, and he's he takes care of himself.
Right.
He's good. But then I'm like, okay, let me reframe this. Would you feel safe your fiance going on it? His fiance's 5'2" and 100 pounds soaking wet. And he's like, oh yeah, fair point. You got me.
Yeah.
There we go. I feel that the LRT, we need to do whatever we need to, and I'll get into what we're doing, to make the 6'5" boxer feel safe on it, and the elderly grandmother who's just going on her own. Like, they both have every right to feel equally safe going on the LRT. Some fundamental problems with the LRT. Crime, it relates to crime. Violent crime specifically. Violent crime, crime in general in the citywide is down. Crime that's being reported is unreported is also on the rise. So generally, hard to measure where we stand there. But generally speaking, official numbers say that crime is down in general. However, violent crime is on the rise citywide. That is.
How do you judge when you look at, because you're a numbers guy?
Yeah, sure am.
And you look at these stats, but is there a level of skepticism to say, like, okay, actually getting out there and hearing voters' voices is more important than the data that I'm getting? And how am I bridging that gap? Because you say, like, say you look at like domestic crimes. Well, a victim of a domestic crime is less likely to report.
And that's,
right. So how do you take those numbers verbatim, and what's the bridging factor?
Whenever I'm given numbers, I kind of have to see where the source of those numbers is. And kind of example to violent or crime in general coming down. In the citywide, they're about anyone who's the victim of a personal crime is 70% likely to report it. If you're a victim of a domestic crime, you're about 50 to 60% in that range. If you're a victim of financial crime, you're about 30% likely to report it. Yeah, the unreported gets pretty high on some of those. So you gotta look at the underlying where those are coming from. And another example of like underlying where those are coming from is that there's a recent poll done on what are the top issues to Edmontonians, and homelessness and topped the issue. Definitely is an issue, and I definitely seen it in my ward too. But infill, for example, was like 11th, and I'll tell you, in my ward, it is not 11th.
Yeah,
it is far from. So they're being able to actually speak to people where those numbers are coming from. That poll, like it was a poll for like, what's your top issues? Who's the lead in mayoral candidate? 400 people were polled.
Right. And like being like the closest source to having that connection to City Hall, what are some like tactics that you can use to like validate that? And actually, like, is it a census? Is it like, how are you able to interpret what actually people want when you're argued that you have like on paper, like, no, this is the proof?
Right. And I think that's depends what kind of numbers I'm looking at. If I'm looking at financial numbers for me, professionally speaking, that's quite easy for me to dig into and find like, okay, let's dive into this line item. Where did you pull this, or how things are categorized? That's really easy for me to do. But when it comes to poll numbers, like how people feel, safety, things like that, I like to look at things like, okay, how many people were polled? Where were they polled? Like, what's the demographics of those people? Like, what are the underlining things that make up those numbers or those polls? Any kind of poll or census, and I think any pollster will tell you that, is only as good as the
people you're asking.
Yeah, exactly.
And what, like, is there methods to actually changing that, of like how they conduct those?
Yeah. So in the accounting world, the consistency, the word consistency is massive in the accounting world. If you are like the amount of times I tell people, it doesn't matter how you do this, as long as you are consistent across the board. As long as like how you date things, for example, if you, like, what date format you use. And I don't really care what date format you use, just be consistent across the board.
Right.
And I think the same applies to our methodology when we poll people. If we are consistent, then the data is more reliable. If we are inconsistent in changing our methodology on a case-by-case basis for whatever whim, political whim, just it's easier or what have you, then our data becomes much less reliable. And if I notice that we are changing our methodology consistently changing instead of just being consistent, then I start questioning the data a lot more.
And do you think that, like, and again, like, I think it comes down to accountability, right?
Right.
Like making sure that there's not a lot of like personal leverage that people are using in terms of like to skew data
Right.
to favor opinions. And to say I have no level of education to say whether that's true or not, but do you think this is where the benefit of having like municipal parties comes in,
Yeah.
where there's more of like a concrete ideology of what people are trying to do?
Yes.
So the pace group,
Pace
is
party. Yeah.
pace party.
Yeah.
So for context for the viewers, this year in municipal elections, they're allowing parties. So under your name, you're also going to show what party you're a candidate for. The Pace Party, the Progressive
Principled Accountable Coalition for Edmonton.
Accountable Coalition for Edmonton.
That's great.
So when you talk about that, what do you find is like a benefit for you in doing that, in doing this as a part of a party as opposed to running as an independent?
Yeah. I think we need a large range of skills on city council. We do. We need the people who are the numbers guys.
Mm-hmm.
I count myself among that. We need the people who are we do need dreamers, artists, and we need those kind of people. I never want to come across as saying I'm disparaging progressive-minded people. So we need a wide range of thought and experiences. Within PACE, what we bring to the table is that wide range of experience. We have people who are business owners. We have a developer on our team. We have people who've been with city administration and transit for decades. Myself, numbers guy. The amount of times people in PACE other candidates have reached out to me is like, hey, Mark, can you verify this number? Or hey, Mark, what was the budget in 2018 for this? And I just have the answer for them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they love that because they don't have to go searching for it.
Right.
We have, I'm sure you've seen our ads on social media. We have a guy who is quite amazing at social media.
Yeah.
And our social media expert on our whole PACE team, she is amazing. We were bringing a bunch of skills together, and I think a fundamental thing that's benefiting Edmontonians is the caliber of people you can get. Because if you think about it, on an independent campaign, it's expensive. Let's be blunt and right up front about that.
You see a lot of people, they had a successful business or what they're coming out of. You look at like Dr. Omar Mohammed. He had a dental clinic,
Right.
So
there's a certain caliber of person that can do it.
You're allowing a lot of funding to be funneled in where some of the smaller people might not actually get.
Kind of. Yes and no. You're allowed. It's a mechanism for someone like myself to come into it. We're not getting as much funding from the actual party. It's not like the party funnels money to us as much as you think, and that's more of just a party policy, not necessarily. Other parties can do that, but we're not. A lot of our funding that PACE has goes to marketing for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
But a thing that helps is efficiency.
Right.
Like there's a beautiful thing in economics, economy of scale, right? If lawn signs are not cheap. For easy example, a lawn sign on average for the average candidate, it will be, if they order in bulk, is about $10 a sign.
Right.
Not cheap.
No.
But if you are suddenly ordering for 10, 12 campaigns,
it gets cheaper.
Much cheaper.
Right.
So our advantage that we kind of bring to the table is every donation that's said meant if say you donate to my campaign, I can spend easily half as much as an independent candidate and get the same result, if not more.
Right.
And I'm seeing that. There's independent candidates that I know who I'm talking to who have spent tens of thousands of dollars on their campaign already, and they're nowhere near where we are.
Right.
And it's efficiency. And I think that's an example of what we want to bring to City Hall, the efficiency. So economy of scale is a big advantage for us. And there's.
So what other practices like when you look at it? I think the biggest concern with this is clouded judgment.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of like the biggest concerns that people have is like, well, now you're not like running for the ward that you exist in. You're running for the machine.
Yeah, and you know what? In the context of Canada, I get the concern. If you look at the federal government, look at the municipal government, you have backseat politicians,
Mm-hmm.
backbenchers.
Right.
They're a common feature of politics. I'm not begrudging one way or the other, but in federal and municipal politics, they're their thing,
Right.
or federal and provincial politics. And on the municipal level, there's a bit of a difference. One, none of us can just be an armchair politician and just do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
We all have to be proactive because there's 13 seats on council if you count the mayor.
Right.
That's it. We're all actively doing stuff. And in terms of like representing our ward versus the party, I think here's another key difference that separates us from our municipal and federal counterparts. On that level, you have a whip, and you can have a debate on the pros and cons of that. I personally do not like it.
Mm-hmm.
I think every politician should be free to vote based on the needs of their ward or riding. That's personal feeling. But on the municipal level, on the provincial and federal level, it's forced.
Mm-hmm.
On the municipal level, there's no forcing involved unless the party itself has a rule that dictates that.
Right.
For PACE, we do not. We specifically, that was actually, we meet weekly.
Mm-hmm.
We discuss things. And there's times we disagree on things.
Right.
And we debate. And we come to a we come to a consensus. And one of the first things we all agreed on, because it is the candidates making decisions. It's not a PACE board or shadow.
Right. That kind of tells you what to think.
Yeah, that's not the case. They help with organizing things, but like policy decisions and major like decisions in general, we're deciding. The candidates are deciding. And one of the most early decisions we made was that there would be no party whip. There is no requirement to vote on party line. We will always vote based on what the needs of our ward is. That is that's first, party second. And I think that makes us unique. And I do understand that people are, from the context in Canada, people are skeptical of that. They're afraid of that. They don't know what that.
Well, and too, this is the first time to see it, right?
Yeah.
So I think seeing it in action as well is going to speak volumes.
That's it.
Right. And like the fact that this hasn't been put in motion yet, it is open to skepticism, just like anything would be open to that skepticism. But then once you actually see it put into practice and you see that accountability take place in real life, then I think that's going to be like the differentiating factor.
Right. And I'm not gonna lie to people. We're probably gonna vote pretty similarly. Like, that's likely, but there's no requirement to do so.
Right.
Like, there are things that I would probably vote differently on my PACE candidate or my PACE counterparts for. I'm open about that, dependent on the needs of my ward. But I think what we have now, it is so new. And what I'd kind of say to Edmontonians in general is what we have hasn't been working.
Right.
Just take a look at what's going on. Just look around, look at your current city council. They're not listening. And it's this council of air quotes independence, because I can go for a long time about how a lot of these current councillors are, they claim independence, but it's questionable at best.
Right.
That stance. What we have isn't working. I want the proof to be in the pudding.
Right.
Judge us by our actions. Judge us by what we do. And we want to be accountable to you.
Is there a reason that like PACE didn't decide to like endorse a mayoral candidate or put one forward?
Yeah. And I love that question. Have you ever heard the concept strategic ambiguity?
No.
Okay. So strategic ambiguity, the idea of, and we likely will not endorse a mayoral candidate. I say likely because, you
never know.
A day in politics,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
But we don't see a benefit in endorsing a specific one. There are some we align with. We make something very, very clear. We will work with whichever mayor that the people of Edmonton elect. We'll work with them, and we promise that. But the mayor, at the end of the day, is one vote on council.
Right.
So we're focused on winning council. There definitely are mayoral candidates we align with. There are specifically two that we do not align with, and that we we will not endorse under any circumstances. And that's the two current
Leaders.
counselors. Yeah, the two current counselors running for a promotion.
Yeah.
We feel they got us into this, helped get us into this position, and they're also some of the two longest serving counselors. They got us here. They don't deserve a promotion.
Right.
That's our view. So we don't see the lack of mayor or lack of mayoral candidate as a bad thing. We see it as a lack of an anchor.
Right. You don't have to then. Yeah, you don't
We're not
have
beholden to one man's ambition.
Exactly.
Or woman.
Yeah, or woman. But yeah, it is interesting because it's like when you say it is just one vote, yeah.
People think the mayor has a lot more power than he does.
Right.
And it has typically been true. The mayor does have some privileges in council, but if he doesn't have if the councilors don't agree with him, he can't do anything, quite frankly. So
what does that relationship look like for like a municipal party of, okay, say you guys win council.
Yep.
Is there, how does that dialogue look like, or how does that, because you guys have like your internal party meetings, and then, so how does that look like with the communication with other council members and even the mayor?
That's actually a really good question. Currently, and this is something that I don't like very much about how council works. There are currently rules that prevent current councilors from having meetings or discussing policy outside of council chambers.
Right.
So they're not able to collaborate
right
now unless they're in a party. So one thing a party brings is you have a bunch of councilors who can collaborate. That's one thing I would like to correct as fast as possible. I even if they're not part of our party, I do still want to collaborate with colleagues on council. We don't want this to be you're not in our party, well, sucks to be you.
And then it almost like looks...
It becomes partisan.
And like the idea of like you going, hey, well, you could have these kind of discussions if you come over to our side of it. Like it leads to this like drawing lines, and it's...
I don't want to play those games.
Right.
Sure, we could say, oh, well, everyone just joined the face party. That would be great. Okay, I'm also a realist.
Yeah.
So I'll work with whoever Edmontonians elect. And that also extends to the provincial and federal levels too.
Right.
So maybe that's a good segue into how we work with the province, I guess.
Yeah, like, and that's a big thing too, of like, how does this intertwine with like communications with the province or federal government? Is now we're developing like a new pipeline of how that information gets communicated.
Yeah. So the relationship between the province and the city of Edmonton bluntly has been poor. Very poor. We have councillors who are very blatant about which party they'd be willing to work with, and they have been very hostile to the party that's currently in government. And I'm clear. I don't endorse UCP or NDP. I'm not with either.
Right.
I'll work with whoever Albertans elect. Like that. It's not for me or Pace to tell people, like tell Albertans, oh, you should elect UCP or you should elect the NDP.
Right.
That's not my job.
Right.
My job is to work with them.
Right.
Like that, and that should be a councilor's job. Right now, we have a council or a lot of councilors, including in my ward. And again, I won't name names, but who are openly hostile to the government that Albertans elected.
Right.
I don't think that's a good relationship to have. So collaboration. We need to be able to collaborate where appropriate. And when we disagree on things, we need to be able to not see it as an opportunity to put egg on the provincial government's face or throw mud, but say, okay, let's have a talk.
Let's find a middle ground here.
Yeah, let's go into a meeting. Let's find a middle ground. Let's collaborate. If we just throw an egg at their face in public, do you think their response is going to be overly happy, positive? So I've spoken with mayors and councillors in other cities, even around Edmonton, but that have said that the relationship is like, what's your relationship like with the province? Like, fine. I pick up the phone, I call so-and-so councillor, and I have an appointment the next day. Done. And we talk about this issue. I would never dream of bashing them on social media or calling them out for this or getting involved in something that's their problem. I'll do a very polite answer of, hey, that's a provincial issue. We will discuss it with the provincial government. Give a kind of a political answer if you have to, but be collaborative. And then, but then you contrast that with our relationship with the province. Yeah, they won't return our calls, basically.
Right.
They dictate to us. Like easiest example I can throw out, like the most recent deal for the stadium, like for the ice district. I won't get into the itty gritty of pros and cons. If it's good deal, bad deal, I don't want to touch that because there's merits, and I think we came out okay. Not because of our city council.
Right.
We came out. The issue that I see there, an example of poor relationship, is the province came in and dictated terms. They came in and said, "This is what it's going to be like. Take it or leave it." That's what they did.
Right.
Like, quite frankly, and we were kind of caught with two. We painted ourselves in a corner more ways than one. One, financially, we're hooped.
Yeah.
We've been financially in a bad spot for a while, so we didn't have a leg to stand on there. And two, we don't have a great relationship with the province.
Right. So that also sullied it.
Yeah. Well, quite frankly, the province normally in a project like that should have, and standard procedure would be to come to us, talk to us. What would you like to take in, out? Would you like to work with? Rewording it. But frankly, they found it much easier just to dictate terms to us. And they're going to go with the path of least resistance in that regard, because no matter what they said, if they gave us the greatest deal on the planet and like it was lined with gold, they would have, our current council still would have found a way to throw egg at their face.
Right. Just to argue for argument's sake.
Just to argue for argument's sake. Like, come on. Like, I get it. There's an appropriate time to get after them for bad policy. I'm there. I get it. But to argue for argument's sake. In the province, frankly, they knew that.
Right.
So they kind of came in, cool, you have a week to decide, yes, no, deal with it.
And it speaks to that, like those soft skills, right?
Yeah.
It speaks to like the idea that it's not simply just about whether or not you're going to vote, whether or not, whether you're going to vote for this and I'll vote for that, you vote for that, and whatever it is. It's also the idea of like, there's so many underlying factors of like, your presentation on social media, how you're carrying on those relationships, how you're dealing with disagreements, how you're like, dealing with those like, debates and stuff like that. And it's really, really interesting. And yeah, it's going to be something that's interesting to see, because either way, you're going to see a municipal party in City Hall, hopefully, or hopefully not, who knows. But you're probably going to see it, and it's going to be interesting on how that plays out. But I want to touch quickly on basically like specifics into like your ward.
Sure.
And this kind of rounds out our interview and brings us back to like the grassroots, right? What are some of the big, not even big, but like, what are some of the bigger things that you would want to affect change, especially in this like very young population? Because I think it's 93,000 you have in your ward?
A little over 100,000 now.
Yeah, a little over 100,000. I think this was stats from 2024.
Yeah, it's population like everywhere else in the city has grown.
Yeah.
So we're over 100,000.
What are some things that you, early on, if you were to get elected, what are some like things that you want to champion early on?
Yeah, I really want to champion having a good relationship with our business community. Like an example is in Old Strathcona on Whyte there is not a great relationship. I've spoken with business leaders there they're struggling. They have been, in many cases, kind of they feel attacked. Like there was a huge fiasco between, like, example, Blues on White. They were during the COVID pandemic about their patio. It's like, okay, we have an open patio here, and council like kind of dragged it through and made them go through this big issue of trying to stay open when they gave a permit right across the street to another business. I'm like,
Yeah.
They're picking favorites. That's not okay. So that's an example of something that I would like to champion. Be someone who the business community feels they can actually talk to, because frankly, they'll bring their issues to council now, and our current councilor and council in general is pretty financially illiterate
Mm-hmm.
or don't really have a great business understanding.
Right.
So they'll bring these issues to them, and it's like a doctor explaining to you, and nothing but doctorese or in whatever really big words they use. They have no idea. So they'll just say things, whatever's politically prudent, and then it sucks to you. And the business community is something that I really want to champion that relationship. Like an easy example of that in Old Strathcona is there's a plan to turn the parking lot that's across from the old farmers market into a park. Okay, sounds good, nice. If you've ever been down there's not a lot of parking.
No.
That's going to kill the market.
Yeah.
Like one of the oldest markets in the city, it'll kill it.
Yeah.
And
because nobody will be able to park.
No one will be able to park. Like it's like, well, people have the LRT and they'll use the bicycle lanes. True, but at the end of the day, people still drive. And a lot of people, if they want to go shopping, want to have their car. So you see the disconnect here. So it's examples like that. And I would even argue there's a park on the other side of the old farmers market, literally a block now.
Right.
Like
why can't we use that? Why can't we revamp it or do something that kind of aids both?
Yeah, and they've already kind of taken a lot of the parking away in that area. So it has very negatively affected the business community. Like one thing I've heard down there is business owners are frustrated with the 2-hour parking minimum or maximum. You can park somewhere down there, but you have a 2-hour limit. Great. Okay, you go, you eat, and then you don't have time to shop. You don't have time to walk down the street and browse.
So is that a city hall level thing?
Yeah, that's a city hall level. So changing how long people can park in an area is definitely a city hall thing,
and is that something that would cause a broader shift? If would that be specific to your ward, or if a rule like that was adjusted, would that be adjusted downtown? Would that be adjusted? How would that necessarily work?
We would have to look at it. And because parking limits are an area by area thing, it's not a blanket. I do not, if you can tell, I do not like blanket one size fits all policy. I think that's just bad policy in general.
Yeah.
So that would have to be something we look at. In parts of downtown, I think we do absolutely need to take a look at the parking situation down there. It is people can't find parking, and people, when they do, they have a limit on how long they can stay there. So they're not really inclined to stay and shop. They'll go get the supper or the main thing they went for, and then they'll leave.
Yeah.
So that
it's hard enough to find a parking spot and then tell someone 2 hours later, okay, go find another one, and then get back to what you're doing. It's well, I'll just go home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's a detriment to business.
That's interesting. And it makes total sense. Kind of going to fire off some quick questions.
Sure.
So this is kind of our end segment, lightning round. I think it's fun. And 2 questions. One policy that you would take from another city to our city. What and why?
What and why? Well, I think that kind of goes to... I'll cheat a little and answer something I did. Not really a policy, but just collaboration.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound like... I definitely will call out the provincial and federal governments when appropriate.
Right.
But being able to get a relationship at all, not just with the provincial government, federal government, all other orders of government. Another easy example is the police department. We have a terrible relationship with our Edmonton Police Services.
So what city does this well?
Everywhere does it better than us.
Yeah.
That's the bar is low.
Yeah.
So if you look at any city around us, pick one. I don't care which one. They do it better.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to counselors and candidates from those different cities. The bar's low.
Right.
So actually getting a relationship in the first place, and I acknowledge that when it comes to Edmonton Police Services, not many other cities have their own police department, this RCMP, but conceptually, you still have to be able to have a good relationship with your law enforcement.
And what is this upcoming change with like APS gonna affect how we like have a relationship when you look at like Alberta Police Service? Is that necessarily gonna affect city limits?
What change are you referring to?
So like their integration of like having a provincial police service.
Yeah, the integration. So yeah, that'll have to have a shift. I'm not 100% sure how that's going to impact things, quite frankly, because at the moment, the goal is to have a complete change in council. So that alone is going to have a shift in our relationship, and hopefully have a shift in relationship with Edmonton Police Services.
Right.
What we do on the provincial level, the province does have a lot of control over our spending with EPS, for example.
Right.
What we spend on EPS it's the number one line item on our budget,
Mhm.
and there's friction there. There's absolutely friction there. Like we have a case right now where police commissioners just refuse summons from council.
Mhm.
They just don't show up.
Yeah, and
Like that's if you don't think there's a relationship problem there, and Edmonton Police, I'll give them all the credit in the world. They're the most professional people ever.
Mhm.
They'll be in a room with a council that absolutely hates their guts, and crazy professional people.
Right.
Like nothing but mad respect for them.
Right.
But I know a few, and I absolutely will not name names,
Yeah.
that work in Edmonton Police Services and on a personal level, and they're like, oh yeah, and that's where it's like they're unleashing their
Yeah.
pent up frustration.
You can already feel it.
Oh, I feel you can feel the tension because someone's listening to me and allowing me to complain.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think the answer to the question, just relationship with other orders of government, where appropriate, like, and just generally actually having a relationship at all.
And and again, because you said that these two questions
These
kind
two
of go
questions,
hand
yeah,
in
they do.
hand. So probably stopping, like, what's it, one thing. Question is, one thing City Hall should stop doing this following quarter, and
Criticizing other orders of government. Yeah.
criticizing other.
Well, there is a time and place. There absolutely is. Like there are people ask me at the door, is there things that you don't like about the UCP? And I'm like, yeah, there's things I'll complain about them. There's things I don't like about the NDP, don't like about the UCP.
Yeah, take your pick.
Take your pick. But at the end of the day, it's our job to work with them.
Right.
So, and that's what I promised to do. But also, don't just take shots at them to try to get political points. That's what our current city council is doing.
Right.
They'll see something that the current government does and criticize just to score points, even if it has nothing whatsoever to do with the city of Edmonton. It's like, okay, let's get back to the core things that is our job.
Right.
And talk about that.
And being the voice of the people.
Yeah. instead of trying to make this about some issue that isn't really related.
Let's hear your 30 I'll give you 30 seconds. Give me your 30-second pitch. Why you, not just the party? Are you worth Papastew's vote?
Yeah. So what I bring to the table is I care. I feel that we need to have a balance of efficiency and realism, but we also need to hit it with compassion. We can't forget about the people of Edmonton, the people of Papastew. I feel my background does lend me very strongly to this word, but really I think it's me and what I care about, and I'm here because I actually care. I'm not here to as a stepping stone on some political ladder. I want to be here as long as you'll have me. And the day comes when the people of Edmonton or in Papastew decide that they don't want me anymore, or they just want change, or they find someone better. If you can find someone better than me, okay. I will go off somewhere and off to the sunset happily. But I'm here to try to make the ward better. That's the goal.
It's amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming out, Mark. For the listeners, you can go to Edmonton City Elections page for everything you need to know for October 20th. We will also put Mark's platform and Pace's platform in the links below in the show notes. As always, we keep the same structure with every candidate. We want to know what changes, who feels it, and when. And by all means, you answered those questions. Again, thank you so much. This has been a very informative conversation. And I think the audience in Edmonton, as well as people just learning about politics, can get a lot out of this episode.
Absolutely.
With that, that has been Solo Spotlight. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, comment below. What are some questions that you have for Mark? What are things that City Council can do? What changes would you like to see in this upcoming cycle? And where do you feel it the most? Your engagement, your likes, follows, shares help us create these conversations every week. And with that, thank you very much, and I'll see you next week.